6 years of Starlink data leaked last week. Every number except the one that prices this IPO. Revenue per user fell 18% as subscribers quadrupled. SpaceX still wants $2 trillion. I read the draft. The 63% margin is in there. How many of those subscribers are actually staying has never been published. Not once. Not in this leak either. On April 29, 2026, two reporters at The Information published a story using a document SpaceX had not officially released. For the first time in the company's history, Starlink's actual subscriber and revenue trajectory was in print. In 2023, Starlink had 2.3 million subscribers. In 2024, 4.6 million. In 2025, 8.9 million. By February 2026, the total crossed 10 million. The subscriber count doubled, then doubled again. Revenue matched it. $3.9 billion in 2023, $7.7 billion in 2024, $11.4 billion in 2025. Those are real numbers. The growth is real, but the information did not lead with the growth. The headline was, SpaceX's Starlink revenue per user fell 18% as customers quadrupled. Say I opened Daniel's Burger Shop. In 2 years, I went from 23 tables a night to 89. My total revenue roughly tripled, but the amount each table is spending fell 18%. My restaurant is fuller than it has ever been, but every seat is cheaper than it was 2 years ago. That is the Starlink picture. In 2023, the average subscriber paid $99 a month. By 2025, that number was $81 a month, an 18% decline. Starlink grew by expanding into markets where customers pay less, lower priced tiers, countries with lower incomes. The subscriber count quadrupled, the revenue per subscriber did not follow. The question the leaked data does not answer is whether that trend continues, stabilizes, or reverses. That answer depends on the one number still missing. We will get to it. The draft showed what Starlink earned. It did not show how many of those subscribers are still there. Now hold this number before we go further. In 2025, SpaceX posted a $4.9 billion net loss. The same year, Starlink generated $11.4 billion in revenue. I will come back to where that gap comes from. Hold it. On X, Elon Musk has described a future where Starlink V3 satellites carry AI computing power directly in orbit. In 2026, he posted about it. He called the idea obvious. He used the word no-brainer. The S1 he signed for the IPO says something different. The prospectus contains a specific line. Orbital AI data centers may not be viable. The public post said no-brainer, but the legal document said may not be viable. Those are not the same claim. The prospectus is the document SpaceX gave to the SEC. It is the legal binding position. The X post is not. Companies add cautious language to legal filings. That is true, but read what this line actually says. Not subject to execution risk. Not faces competitive headwinds. The document says orbital AI data centers may not be viable. The same person who posted no-brainer on X filed that language for the SEC. I want to be clear about what I am not saying. I'm not saying Elon Musk was being dishonest on X. Legal teams routinely add conservative disclosures, and it is possible he believes orbital AI is obvious while his lawyers insisted on caution. That happens. But the reason this distinction matters is not about honesty. It is about valuation. The $2 trillion number is not fully explained by Starlink's current broadband revenue alone. Part of what justifies the premium is what Starlink becomes next. Orbital AI computing is one of the answers publicly on offer. The document Elon signed says the answer may not be possible. The S1 does not know what the X post promised. I covered how Starlink's 63% margin is built and why no competitor can replicate it at the same cost in my last Starlink video. The draft prospectus confirms that number. Link is in the description. What I did not cover is what the same document says about what comes after the margin. If this breakdown is useful before the official S1 drops, hit like and subscribe. I go 3 layers deep every week. On May 4, 2026, Singapore Airlines announced it would install Starlink on its long-haul fleet. Airbus A350 and A370 aircraft, roughly 53 planes, service beginning in the first quarter of 2027. Singapore Airlines was one of the first carriers in the world to adopt Ka-band in-flight Wi-Fi, a technology from a company called SITA On-Air GX Aviation. It was an early mover on that generation. It is switching away from it now. If you fly long-haul regularly, in-flight connectivity is no longer a bonus, it is an expectation. The quality and price of that connection will be determined by which satellite provider wins this window. Singapore Airlines just made its choice. As of April 10, 2026, 36 major airlines have committed to Starlink. British Airways launched its first Starlink flight in April 2026. Virgin Atlantic went live on its A350 fleet in May 2026. Lufthansa Group begins its A350 aircraft rollout in the second half of 2026. This is not adoption, this is locked in. An airline that equips its fleet, trains its crew, and integrates its ground systems around Starlink infrastructure does not switch easily. The window for Amazon to win those carriers before the lock-in completes is narrowing fast. Two major US carriers went the other direction. Delta and JetBlue both chose Amazon Leo. I covered Delta in my last video, but look at what their choice tells you about Amazon's position specifically. Amazon Leo launched its enterprise beta on April 8, 2026. As of April 2026, Amazon has 302 satellites in orbit. Its FCC license requires 1,618 deployed by July 30, 2026. Amazon filed a request for a 24-month extension in January, citing a shortage of available rockets. That ruling has not come yet. The extension matters more than any single airline deal. If the FCC grants 24 more months, Amazon Leo's competitive pressure on Starlink shifts to 2028 at the earliest. Starlink has that entire window to continue locking in enterprise contracts before Amazon can offer a fully scaled alternative. And on May 1, 2026, the FCC approved changes to satellite regulations that had been written in the 1990s. The old rules limited a given area to effectively one satellite providing service at a time. The new rules allow up to 8 Starlink satellites to do so simultaneously, a potential 7x increase in capacity. The FCC announced it, almost no outlet covered it. I want to hear from you. With Amazon Leo behind its deployment deadline and the FCC just multiplied Starlink's capacity, does the competitive picture look better or worse than it did 6 weeks ago? Tell me in the comments. One number was not in the leaked draft. Starlink is a subscription business. The metric that tells you whether the growth number is real is churn. Churn is the percentage of subscribers who cancel each month. Think of it like filling a bathtub. The subscriber count is how much water is in the tub. Revenue per user is the temperature of the water. Churn is how fast the drain is open. You can keep adding water every month and still be losing ground if the drain is open wide enough. Starlink has never published its churn rate, not once, not in 6 years of operating, not in 6 years of announcing subscriber counts, not in the draft prospectus that leaked to the information. I checked whether any comparable satellite or telecom business leaves this number out of its public reporting. None of the ones I found do. Every analyst covering this IPO has identified the churn rate as the single most important undisclosed metric in the entire document. I know some of you are planning to wait for the official S1 before forming a view. That is the right instinct. The question is the clock. The S1 must be made public at least 15 days before the roadshow begins. The roadshow is targeting the week of June 8, 2026. The IPO is targeting June 18 to 30th. If you are planning to buy SpaceX shares at the IPO, the churn rate will be available for approximately 15 days before the deletion window closes. That is the first time in 6 years of Starlink operating that this number will exist anywhere in public. The number that most determines whether 10 million subscribers is the right foundation for a $2 trillion valuation will be public for roughly 2 weeks before the window opens. That is the sequence. You are reading it before it happens. Earlier, I told you to hold a number. The number was $4.9 billion. Starlink generated $11.4 billion in revenue in 2025. The 63% margin was real. SpaceX's rocket business was running alongside it, and the company posted a $4.9 billion net loss on a consolidated basis. In February 2026, SpaceX completed its merger with xAI, the company Elon had separately founded. I covered the full xAI story in my previous video. Link is in the description. One figure from that merger is specific to this IPO decision. In 2025, xAI posted a $6.4 billion operating loss. After the merger, those losses became part of SpaceX's consolidated books. The Starlink revenue is real. The operating profit from satellites and rockets is real. The $4.9 billion net loss is also real. And it is there because xAI is now inside the same financials. SpaceX's total capital spending in 2025 was $20.74 billion. That is more than Starlink's entire annual revenue. 61% of that spending went to xAI. When I put those two numbers next to each other, I thought about who decides where the next $20 billion goes. You are not buying Starlink in isolation when you buy SpaceX at this IPO. You are buying Starlink as the engine that funds an AI company that lost $6.4 billion in 2025. Whether you believe xAI will eventually generate returns that justify that spending is a question only you can answer. But the position is not optional. It comes with the purchase. I am not saying you should not buy this. I am saying you should know what you are actually buying. 3 things I'm watching from here. 1. The official S1 filing. It must be public at least 15 days before the roadshow begins in the week of June 8. The churn rate will be in it. That is the first number I'm reading. Not the revenue, not the subscriber count, the churn rate. 2. Elon's public response to the S1 contradiction. The filing says orbital AI data centers may not be viable. His post said otherwise. Watch whether he addresses that gap directly, reframes the claim, or says nothing at all. Both answers tell you something. 3. The FCC ruling on Amazon Leo's 24-month extension request. That single decision shifts the competitive timeline more than any airline deal or pricing announcement. Watch for it. 6 years of Starlink data leaked last week. The subscriber count is real. The revenue is real. And the 18% decline in revenue per user is real. The 63% margin held for now. The number that tells you whether those subscribers are actually staying was not in the document. It has never appeared anyway. The decisions about what this business is worth are being made right now before that number has ever been seen by anyone outside the company. When it finally appears, you will have about 2 weeks to decide what it means. If this breakdown was useful, hit like and subscribe. I go 3 layers deep every week.